Welcome, everyone, to this episode of PEPTalk, Productive Environment Podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about Love It or Lose It, Living Clutter-Free Forever. I'm Andrea Anderson, CEO of Productive Environment Institute, and I'm joined by...
I'm Barbara Hemphill, founder of Productive Environment Institute.
Awesome. I'm going to turn off that music, and I'm going to remove our screen so we can just have a conversation. Okay. So, obviously we talk, well, first of all, if you're new to our channel, welcome. I'm going to say obviously, but if you're new, then this isn't obvious to you. We talk about on this channel all things related to productivity, clutter. Barbara's famous quote is clutter is postponed decisions. And if you're on this channel, chances are you're searching for how to get organized, or something about clutter has caught your attention. And we share each week what some of our clients are doing to tackle their clutter issue. Barbara has been in this industry for over 46 years this year, right, Barbara?
Yeah.
And it's just mind blowing. And I've been working with her for about 18 of those 46 years. So, and guess what? There's still clutter. There's still clutter, and it is still a challenge. So yeah, Barbara, you and I were discussing the other day about, of course, just clutter in general, but you wrote this book, Love It or Lose It, Living Clutter-Free Forever, over 20 years ago. Yeah. There it is. So was it 2024 or 2020? It was 2024 was the 20th anniversary, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's still just as relevant today as it was then. Do you want to share anything?
And what prompted us to have this discussion was I was invited to speak at a book club at a church in Virginia to talk about that book, because the book club had read the book. And so then they invited me to come and speak about it. And that was where it was their Q&A that led me to say, Andrea, I think this is something we should talk about, because it came up a lot. And the issue was someone in Love It or Lose It, we talk about setting, but our company is Productive Environment. And the facilitator of the group said, Barbara, I'm curious, what made you move from using the word setting to environment? And I said, well, actually, we define productive environment as an intentional setting in which people can accomplish their work and enjoy their lives and enable others to do the same. So that was kind of, and there was someone in the call who really was almost in tears saying, my concern is that I have all this stuff in my house, but I don't know how to get rid of it in a responsible way. And that was kind of what prompted this discussion.
Yeah.
Said, hey, let's talk about this topic.
Right. And it's a big topic right now. If you let us know wherever you're listening from, if you have heard of the Netflix documentary called Buy Now. And, it's an eye opener as far as like how it was really intentional about, I called it orchestrated overconsumption. It was very intentional for, as displayed in this documentary, about getting us, the consumer, to buy as much as possible, as fast as possible. And then that's how we end up with clutter, right? We're being enticed and induced and encouraged, and they make it super easy. They interviewed people who had worked with Amazon from the very beginning, whose job it was to psychologically set up the pages to make it super easy to buy. If you guys, it's just common. You go into Amazon and you one-click buy. It's like one-click buy. They were the first ones to do one-click buy. It's like, get us to make that purchase as quickly as possible. And so that's where a lot of clutter comes from. Think about the last time you placed an order. How easy is it now to just click, and order and have things delivered to your home? And so then we've got the packaging. We're opening the Amazon package. It's not just Amazon, but you guys know that's a big one. It's not just the packaging, but then the product. And then the documentary goes into the lifespan of these products. And if you have an Apple or a Mac or an iPhone, they talked about that these are just they're in the landfill now. Like they're just, because they're always wanting us to, they're always coming out with new things and they want us to upgrade and keep buying, keep buying, keep buying. And how frustrating is it that the plugs, the accessories don't work from device to device because they want us to keep buying, keep buying, keep buying. And so then we end up here. We end up with too much clutter and not knowing, like you just said, Barbara, somebody that was crying saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with it. So yeah, that kind of spurred this conversation. And so if you haven't seen it, it's not really an enjoyable documentary to watch because it's kind of terrifying and what the overconsumption is causing, not just to us, but to the environment as well. So yeah, let's go over a couple of things, Barbara. Just a couple of points that the documentary made is the power of marketing psychology. Companies engineer fear of missing out and impulse buying. This wasn't addressed in the documentary, but another big one for me, I think, is Facebook ads. Scrolling Facebook, and then there's this wonderful thing, and it's just so easy. It's so easy to click, and then next thing you know, you've got more clutter coming to your house. Sometimes it's good stuff, sometimes it's not so good.
Well, I think one of the real issues, we've talked about it in previous episodes, is that we always try to solve problems by adding things. Yeah. And that's exactly what happens. We see the Facebook ad or the Amazon ad or whatever it is. I say, oh, this will solve the problem. Yeah. And we just constantly add more. And many times that actually makes the problem worse as opposed to solving the problem. So I think one of the issues is really slowing down in our decision making as it relates to purchasing things. So one of the techniques I use now is I love to read books, and sometimes I buy more than I can read. So now I've started putting it in the shopping cart, but not buying it. So then the next time I go to the shopping cart, I can look at it again. It's just a way of slowing down my decision making. Yeah. And we talk about the art of waste basketry, which is, asking what's the worst thing that would happen if I didn't keep this, if I deleted this email or if I threw away this paper. Well, the question you can also ask is, what's the worst possible thing that would happen if I didn't buy this? And it might be you pay a few more dollars or whatever else, but how many times do you end up paying a whole bunch, or maybe not a whole lot, but you never use it? I'm guilty. I mean, I've listened to these webinars about things. Oh, this is going to wonder if you buy it today, you can have it for a lifetime, and never go back and look at it again. I mean, never go back and look at it again because the marketing is so good.
Yeah. And that brings us to a question that we want to ask you guys. I mean, the marketing is so good. You just hit the nail on the head. So the question for you, wherever you're joining us from, comment on this. Are you choosing what you bring into your life, or is it being chosen for you? Are you choosing what you bring into your life, or is it being chosen for you? Right? And how is it chosen for us? It's chosen on Facebook ads. It's chosen on emails we get that say, hey, we're having a sale. And you're like, I got to get it. So there's that fear of missing out again. So a couple of things.
Then I think one of the things we want to talk about is, okay, you've already done that. I mean, we've all done it. One of my favorite verses in the Bible is, there is therefore now no condemnation. It's like, okay, we can't control the past. We can only do the present. So now the question is, what do you do about it now? Because the reason this woman was crying was because of the stuff that she had, and she wanted to be, in fact, in Less Clutter, More Life, I talk about one of the big stumbling blocks is wanting to be responsible for everything. And, everybody's had the experience, or many people have had the experience of dropping something off at a donation place and then seeing it not be well taken care of. But here's the real question. If you're holding on to it, is preventing you from doing what you really should be doing? And I've got a perfect example in my own life. It's very simple, but for years, I donated used greeting cards to St. Jude's. They took them for years. I've sent them probably hundreds of them. Well, they stopped doing that. And I didn't have a place. I looked a couple places. I didn't really find anything. And so I have a pile of them. I have a paper cutter upstairs in my upstairs office, and I would cut off the writing part of the thing, and I've had it there. that pile, now the one thing I have done is the ones that say thank you, I put in my suitcase, because then when I'm traveling, if I want to say thank you to somebody, I use one of those cards and write a little note on it, which has been really fun. But the rest of them are just there. And every time I look about it, I think, oh, I really should do something about that. Oh, I really should do something about that. I mean, I can't tell you because that's where my printer is. So every time my office is downstairs and I left my printer upstairs on purpose so that get me out of my office. Every time I walk by, it's that pile of cards. So I decided last week that I would call 5 places around here because I was told that preschools or nursing homes might use them. And so I decided I'll try 5 places and see if any of them can use it. The very first call I made was a nursing home. I called and asked, could I talk to the activities director? And she said, yeah, sure, we'll be happy to take them. And it's like, how many times did I procrastinate about doing something? So if what you are holding on to in an effort of being responsible is preventing you, I mean, every time that happens to you, it takes away from your productivity. So it's not allowing you to do what God really wants you to do. So where are you procrastinating about getting? And I decided that if I didn't find something in 5 days, I would put them in the recycle bin.
There you go. And you found the first one.
For years, like, oh, finally, but I waited way too long before I did.
Right. Well, we do have some suggestions for you guys, similar to what Barbara just, you just created a boundary and a plan of what to do with that. So a couple of things, just a couple of quick points about understanding why we accumulate clutter in the first place. Okay. So we just mentioned one with the buy now thing. So emotional ties to stuff. Barbara, you often talk about Aunt Sally's candlesticks.
Yeah, I think that emotional is I think it's the biggest thing. It's like, I know it is for me. I'm doing end of life planning and going through old photographs and papers and things like that. And it really is difficult. But once again, it's like, that's not our legacy. This world is not my home. I'm going to go someplace else. And the biggest thing is I don't want to leave a mess for my heirs. I don't want anybody else to have to go through that. And the one thing I would say is if you have more stuff than you can go through. In fact, I talked to a dear friend of mine this week who's in her 80s. She lived in the same house for 35 years and she's been a keeper. And now here she is in not very good health. Her eyesight's not very good. Her children and grandchildren don't want anything that she has. And the question she asked me was, what do I do about all those old files? She was a writer and a marketer and a pastor. And what do I do with all those old files? And I said, you really only have one of 2 choices. And we've talked about this before. You can either go through it piece of paper by piece of paper, or you can recycle it all or shred it all. Those are your only 2 options. And that emotion, you have to go through that emotion to get on the other side. Otherwise, she's going to feel guilty for the rest of her years. And it's not.
It's not worth it. It's not a way to live. Yeah. So emotional ties to stuff that could be sentimental attachment or guilt, feeling bad about getting rid of things that you spent money on, but you're no longer using, but you hold on to them because, well, I paid money for it. So emotional ties to stuff. Think about that. Can you think of things that you have that you're struggling to get rid of because of that reason? The fear of letting go is another. The fear of letting go. What if I need this later? What if you're holding on to it because, financial insecurity potentially. So what if I need this and I let it go and then I don't have it anymore? So that's another big issue. Number 3 is the impact of society and marketing. We just talked about this briefly, that's what Buy Now talks about. The psychology of sales trends and influencer marketing. Oh, this is the trendy thing. I need to have this. I need to get it. And just how companies engineer planned obsolescence. That's what I was talking about with the phone to make products feel outdated very quickly. I mean, that creates, not only does it create clutter in our own homes and businesses, but in the landfills. Where do these things go? What is the exit strategy for these items when we're buying them? So and that's orchestrated. It's planned. It's an algorithm. And then the true cost of clutter is, wasted time searching for lost items or managing excess possessions, wasted money, buying things twice, storage unit fees, storage units. That is one of the, in my area, I don't know about you guys, Barbara, up in Raleigh and everywhere else where you guys are watching from. In our area, we have so many storage facilities. It's
We do too. I mean,
unbelievable.
there's probably
Yeah.
within 10 minutes of my house, there's 5 of them.
Yeah, easily. Same here. Yeah, it's a fast growing industry because clutters postpone decisions. Well, I don't have any more room in my home for it, but I don't know what to do with it. I'm not ready to make a decision. So let me just put it in storage. And
Well,
I
somebody
saw,
told us on Sunday, the webinar I was doing, somebody said that she had saved the baby bassinet from her baby. And that child now is 25 years old. And she had saved it thinking, well, that child hasn't had a child yet. And then nobody wanted it. By the time she's ready to give it away, nobody wanted it. So it's been sitting for 20 years in the storage unit when it could have, think of the joy it would have brought somebody who could have used it.
yeah.
And now it really is trash.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good example. That's a great example. So let's talk about, those were just some 4 key points about understanding why we accumulate clutter. So if we recognize those reasons, then we can start paying attention and being like, when we're getting ready to make that purchase, do I really want this? Do I really need this? Or is this just an impulse purchase because I'm bored and I'm scrolling? Do we really think about that, and then also think about what the exit strategy is. But let's go over some, we've got 7 key recommendations to reduce existing clutter and prevent future clutter. Okay. So Barbara, you always talk about in our trainings, you talk about stop the problem. Don't just set up a new system or just, don't just set up something else, but we've got to stop the problem from happening in the first place. Right.
Well, a good example of that would be, I mean, how many times have we gone where places people have bought multiples of things because they didn't know what they had? So it's having a system to know what you have to stop the problems.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So number 1, adopt the love it or lose it mindset. Ask, do I love it? Do I use it? Do I truly need it? If not, it may be time to let it go. That's your decision. And if something holds sentimental value but isn't useful, take a photo before you let it go.
I like the idea, it was Henry Morris was the designer. He used to say, have nothing which you do not know to be useful or think to be beautiful. And I added, or love. Because there are some things that I have for my children primarily, and not a lot, because again, I think keeping too much it ends up backfiring because nobody wants to go through it. So it's,
and then I think,
if you don't know to be useful, think to be beautiful or love, then you really need to take seriously about whether that's something that you really want. And then the other thing is to realize, instead of reinforcing with yourself, I can't do this, or this is hard, to think about, I can do this. I'm able to do this, and you'll be blessed. And nobody's ever, all the years that I've done this, no one's ever gone back and said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I did that. And I always tell people, you may get rid of something that a year from now, or even a decade from now, you say, oh, I wish I had it. But number 1, there's a good chance you wouldn't have even remembered you had it, because it's like, oh, I didn't know I had that, or you couldn't find it. So Hemphill's principle, if you don't know you have it or you can't find it, it's of no value.
That's right. That's right. And there is help. I want you guys to hear us. We know this is difficult. We know decluttering is not an easy thing. Clutter is postponed decisions. Making those decisions is not easy. That's why we exist as a company. We have a team of certified productive environment specialists, and their whole goal in life when they get up in the morning is to help people make those decisions. That's what we do. We teach you a decision-making framework to help you make those decisions. And sometimes just having somebody either beside you in a storage unit. I've done that before. I had someone hire me early on when I first took your training, Barbara, back in 2005. One of my first clients was somebody who just said, will you just come to the storage unit with me? I didn't have to do anything physical. I wasn't going in there moving boxes. I just was there while she picked up the items that were very emotional and made decisions about them. So that's part of it. And now, of course, with Zoom, I mean, we do this all the time virtually. So if you are struggling with this, please reach out to us. There is help. I can set you up to talk with someone. So number 2, set clutter-free boundaries. So here's one that some people do, and I know I'm not a mother, but I know I have friends that are mothers, and they had this rule with their kids: one in, one out rule. When you bring something new in, commit to removing something, and they would teach their children to do that. It's like, if you want a new toy, okay, what are you willing to give to someone else or donate to get out? Is a strategy, right? So one in, one out. If you bring something in new, commit to removing something else. Designate space limits. And sometimes you don't have a choice. I mean, I moved from a 3-bedroom condo to a 1-bedroom condo. So I have space limits now. I couldn't keep everything that I wanted or that I had before. So keep only what fits in a certain space. Now, if you live in a large home and you have plenty of space, you can keep everything, but that doesn't mean you should. So still make yourself some space limits, right? And then this is a key one right here, guys. Unsubscribe from promotional emails that tempt you to buy impulsively. So one of our things that we teach is not just physical decluttering, but digital. We work with email and computer files and things like that in our digital transformation training. And if you are getting emails that are coming in that are just, it's your favorite store and they have a sale, and every day they email every day. Stores email multiple times a day. So I would unsubscribe for those. Guys, don't feel like you're missing out on anything, because you can always resubscribe later. You can always go directly to their website if you want to. You don't have to have those emails coming into your email account. All right. Tackle clutter in small steps. This is one we really advocate for. The 15-minute rule. We at Productive Environment Institute are very big on timers. So set a timer and declutter for just 15 minutes. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you've got too much clutter, set a timer for 15 minutes and do what you can in that time. And one of the frameworks that we teach for paper and digital, which also applies to physical stuff, is the file, act, toss system. So when it comes to physical things in your home, file would mean keep, things you want to keep. So if you're decluttering and you pick up something, you say, I want to keep this. You're making a decision to keep it. Act, so file, act, toss. Act could be donate it. It goes to someone else, or fix it. Maybe there's things sitting around because it needs to be hemmed or fixed or whatever. And then toss. So whatever you can decide. So keep it really simple, and just remember those words: file, act, toss. That's the initial decisions for you to make about stuff. So if you want to declutter a small area, start with that. And then break down big decluttering projects into categories. So you could have clothes, you could have books, digital files, other things into categories. And that'll just help clearing some mental space for you. Okay.
I think one of the other things is, the key is small steps. So many times there are things that people know they could do, but instead of doing what they know they can do, they focus on what they can't do. So then they don't get started at all. So often we ask the question, what's the next action you can take? And then the other thing that's really important is to celebrate when you're successful. And I took a course recently where it really was talking about training your brain. And it was talking about how important it is when you do something to celebrate. And I was very reluctant to do that. It's like, it was such a little thing. But all the brain research shows that every time you say, oh, that was good, that the brain hears that, and you're training your brain to think more positively. So celebrate even the smallest step. And I joked about it because I didn't like to celebrate, and I love music. So I said the joke that I was going to celebrate by singing amen. So every time I do something smart, I'd say, amen, amen. My husband laughs and says, what are you singing amen? I said, because I'm getting some things done.
That's right. That's right. I love it. I love it. So digitally declutter is number 4, and you can celebrate, you can sing amen, or however you want to celebrate, when you unsubscribe from junk emails and clean up your inbox. We try to make that a fun thing. Like, we get excited when we have clients who come into our digital transformation program, and they're coming in with 10,000, 20,000, sometimes well over 100,000 emails. and then they unsubscribe, and they're able to delete, remove, declutter those emails. That is worth celebrating. That is worth celebrating. So delete, the other piece to that is delete unused apps and organize your files into folders. Those are things that we cover in the digital side of our programs, and celebrate those along the way. So set a reminder to review and delete unnecessary photos once a month. Now, that is not something that I do, but I think that is a really good tip. That may be something that I start doing. That's a tip that I may start doing, because we're just randomly taking pictures here of things, and then they're just stuck on our phone, and they're taking up space. And then number 5, stop impulse purchases before they start. I think a lot of people can can learn from that. So implement the 24-hour rule. Barbara, you just mentioned, you said you put something in your cart and then you leave it. And maybe if you come back in 24 hours and you still want it, then buy it. But you've given yourself some time, right?
About 50% of the time, I'll say, I won't delete it yet, but I'll put it in later. So it's like, okay, if I really want to go back there. And then a lot of times, if it stays there for a while, then buy it, then I'm on to something else. So.
Yep. So it was an impulse purchase.
Yeah.
Use a wish. One suggestion is to use a wish list instead of a cart. See if you still want it in a week. So just put it, I know Amazon has a wish list feature. So not even putting it in the cart sometimes. I do go back and look at those sometimes, and I'm like, what was I thinking? Thank God I didn't spend money on that. So that's number, I think that's number, oh wait, no, hold on. Which one was that one? Stop impulse purchases. The next one. Yeah, the next one is create a clutter-free. I've got one more after this one. Create a clutter-free shopping strategy. Here's a good one. Buy quality over quantity. Invest in timeless, durable items. And I watched another video after I watched the Buy Now documentary on Netflix. My YouTube, again, algorithms, my YouTube channel was bringing up related videos. And there was one I watched about how the quality of our clothing and our items that we buy have gone way, way down over the years, because they're cranking things out so fast. The quality has gone down. They're trying to save money, and they're trying to increase their profit. So you have to be really intentional about that. So buy quality over quantity, invest in timeless, durable items. Avoid bulk purchases unless you genuinely use the item frequently. So just because it's on sale, because it's a bunch of them, do you really use them often enough for you to need the bulk? And again, if you live in a small space, where are you gonna store that stuff? So
I was yesterday,
think about that.
I have a lady who does alterations for me, and we were talking about clothes and how now the number one thing in dumps is clothes. And she said she has a client who says, I'm too poor to buy poor quality clothes.
That's good.
That's
good, because you try to go cheap to save money, but then you end up having to buy more of the thing because they don't last as long as they used to.
I remember when my daughter was young, I said to her, you buy something based on the number of times you'll wear it. So I said, I would much rather have you spend $100 on a handbag that you're going to carry for a long time than a prom dress that you're going to wear once.
Yeah, such a good point. How many people have prom on your closet? I'm raising my hand, but I don't. But prom dress is still in your closet. Yes, that is really good. And then number 7 is have an exit strategy for unwanted items. I don't think this is anything that most of us think about. So when you buy something and you have it, like, what is the exit strategy for that? Here's some tips. Designate a donation box in your home for items to give away. So if you have a specific place and you realize as you're cleaning or you're doing things around the house, you realize you're not using these things, have a place to put them. Maybe it's in the garage or somewhere you've got a box. Find ethical recycling and resale options for items you no longer need. A lot of people are like, well, I don't want to just throw something away because I want to be, responsible. So do some research in your area for some ethical recycling options. And then I love this one, commit to a quarterly decluttering challenge. Evaluate what's serving you. So having a plan. I love that idea of a quarterly declutter. We do that with paper. We have what we call our paper palooza. And then we also have a digital detox. So every couple of months, we do a workshop where we focus specifically on paper decluttering or on digital decluttering. So you could do that with your items in your home as well. Have a plan, a quarterly decluttering challenge where you release things and let them go. So as we wrap up, the main thing is that clutter is not just about stuff, it's about postponed decisions. And Barbara, briefly as we wrap up, and then I'll share the very last thing, but where did clutter's postponed decisions come from? How did that come to you, that's such a thing that's been part of your business for 46 years? Like, where did that originate?
Well, it just came from my initial working with clients. And when I was thinking about where was this, why is this so hard?
Yeah.
I remember very vividly, there was a woman, I was cleaning out a closet. We don't do that anymore, but at that point I was cleaning out a closet, and I pulled out something and I said, "How does this make you feel?" And I don't remember her name. I don't even remember what state she was in, but I'll never forget the look on her face. She said, "It makes me feel guilty." And we talked about, and from there I said, you need to decide, because this is clutter, and anything that makes you feel sad or depressed or ugly or fat or guilty, we're not intended to feel that way. God does not want us to feel that way. And so if that item gives you any negative feeling whatsoever, it's time to pass it on. And even if it means going in the dump, that's better than putting that negative energy back into your life.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's what we want to leave you guys with, as a challenge to you to choose one small action today that can help lead you toward living clutter-free. So it's if that action is setting your timer for 15 minutes and going and decluttering your junk drawer, or setting your timer for 15 minutes and going looking through your clothes and pulling out a few things that you no longer wear, and having a plan to pass them on to someone else, going to your desk and picking up items. That's one of the very first things we teach in our office transformation boot camp, is getting the items off your desk that really don't belong there. Clearing that space. It clears, when you clear the physical space, it clears your head space as well to do more. So if you are new to us, we invite you to fill out a productive environment scorecard. Find out how productive your environment is. You can go to productiveenvironmentscore.com. That brings you into our world. You will get a free download that actually is a one-page PDF document that really gives you a snapshot of what we do to help people overcome clutter and make decisions about it. We call it our office transformation blueprint. It can apply to other areas of your space as well, not just your office. And then we can share it with you if you want to just shoot us a message when you get that, and if you're curious about our office transformation and our digital transformation classes, shoot us a message and say, can you send me some info about this? And we'll be happy to share, because that's what brings us joy, is sharing the things that we've learned along the way and helping people declutter, pass things on, bless somebody else with your stuff, or as Barbara said, go ahead and just get it out, whatever that means. Get it out of your house, get it out of your space, even if it means disposing of it. It's better, because it's draining your energy otherwise, and it's just not worth it. So Barbara, any last, let me just share a couple comments here, and then any last closing things. Canary is watching us from India. Awesome. And Tony, great tips, create an exit strategy. Yeah, I really, really love the idea of the exit strategy. So I want to hear from you.
So right, one question I would invite you to ask yourself is, what is one area of my life that I really need to declutter? And then if you're not sure how to do that, if you fill out the scorecard, you'll get a 30-minute complimentary consultation, and we can address that very issue. So you can get started, and we'll apply the principles, and then you can apply the principles throughout your life.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us. This is the end of this pep talk, and we'll see you on the next one. By the way, again, if you are new, please make sure, and even if you're not new and you just haven't done it yet, please subscribe to our channel. So wherever you're watching us from, make your way over to YouTube. Maybe Eds could post the link in the other channels where you guys are watching, over to our YouTube channel. We really appreciate, click subscribe, like this video, forward this video to somebody else. Click the little share button and grab the link and forward it to somebody else that this could be helpful to. We really appreciate that. We appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.